Thanks for joining us today on the Milton Keynes Business Channel. I'm Christian. If you're running Google Ads or thinking about it, you might be wondering, should I hire a PPC agency or not? So I just thought I'd break that down quickly to answer that question. So firstly, what is PPC and why is it powerful? Well, pay-per-click advertising like Google Ads puts your business right at the top of Google. Pay upon demand, and it's performance based. So if someone's searching for solicitor in Milton Keynes or emergency plumber near me, you only pay when someone searches for that and clicks on your ad. So unlike SEO, which takes time, it's very quick and instant results, but it's not easy by all accounts. I mean, plenty of businesses set it up themselves, and to be fair, Google do try and make it easy and simple, but here's usually what happens when a less experienced or novice or new PPC manager sets it up. First, the most common mistake I see is people targeting broad keywords. So they might put like local solicitor in on a broad search. Now, a broad search on Google basically means you target on average 30,000 keywords. So if you target your words on broad, generally it's not very targeted at all. Lots of random phrases come up. For my A/B testing, I've tended to waste 80% of my budget on broad match keywords. I've tested that loads over the last 20 years. So basically, when you want broad match, quite often you're overbidding and buying keywords that other companies don't want to buy. Low quality scores is another thing I see. That means you pay much higher costs. So let's say your company has 10 different products and 5 different services. You need a landing page and an ad and a campaign specifically around those. So if you have 15 different keywords, one for each product or service, 15 different ads, and then the user lands on one page that's got all of those 10 products and 5 different services on there, the users get a little bit confused, and Google will end up making you pay more for your clicks, because you should have a dedicated page about the product or service you're advertising. And if you don't do that, then Google basically makes you pay more for your clicks. The next most big kind of waste of money that I see when I take over accounts from in-house or other PPC agency teams is poor landing pages. Landing pages need to be product or service specific. They need to be responsive on mobile, and they need to load quickly. Quite often we'll take over a campaign and with a small budget, within a few hours, we'll fix up the landing page, and suddenly we're getting twice as many leads because previously it wasn't optimized and the client was wasting half of their money and they didn't even know it. The other thing is no conversion tracking. Often we see people set up campaigns on Google, spend some money, and they don't know, and Google doesn't know what the conversion is and how many leads they actually got for their money and what ads and what keywords were bringing that in. So just to recap on those 4 kind of major mistakes, where quite often I'll see clients wasting 80% of their money and they don't even know it. Broad and phrase match can be very erratic. Low quality scores, so you haven't got the keywords in your ads and on your landing pages. A poor landing page experience. You need clear call now buttons, forms for people to fill in, capturing data wherever you can, loading quickly and mobile responsive, and no conversion tracking, or it's not tracking properly. So what experienced PPC agency like Milton Keynes Marketing, I've been doing pay-per-click on Google for just over 20 years now. Firstly, we do very thorough keyword research. With some campaigns, we might spend a couple of days' work researching on those keywords, and that really forms the foundation and the strategy, because you find out where the most money is, what your competitors are bidding on what keywords, and you can structure your whole budget and strategy on that basis. The copywriting is very important. We'll always A/B test lots of ads. Quite often we'll speak to local businesses. I spoke to a client the other day. They said that Google AdWords is running brilliantly. It was the best ever campaign, been running for years. And in that time, they'd only ever had one ad. So they'd never tested different ads ever. And you might find if you just reword things or add a few extra points, like a direct call to action, like call now, register now, take out a free trial, get a free consultation, those sort of hooks. sometimes you can add those and it halves your costs. You get twice as many leads. And we're very thorough with our landing page audits and improvements. So often we'll have software where we test the speed, we test the rendering on different devices. We'll check different mobiles, different tablets, different desktops, browsers. We'll look at that page from different countries with multinational campaigns. And we also do lots of A/B testing and bid management. So we monitor our PPC campaigns on a daily basis and monitor the bids and check everything is clean and targeting. And that constant optimization really helps us get the best results. And without that, the results tend to tail off. If, for example, you don't log into your pay-per-click campaign for a couple of weeks, the results tend to deteriorate. And what inevitably happens is you end up buying clicks that other companies don't want to buy, the low value clicks. It's always in Google's interest to sell you clicks at the highest price, and selling the clicks that nobody else wants to buy is the best way of doing that. So when, for instance, you bid on a broad match, you're inviting yourself to buy all of the advertising that no one else buys at a higher price. And we also do regular reports with our A/B testing. So it's not just about traffic, it's about getting qualified leads that convert. So we'll sometimes A/B test and optimize the forms. For instance, we were working with a finance company and their form was very loose. It was just like name, email, mobile, and a message box. So the only data input was a message box. So we tightened that up. We actually said, how much money do you want? We took numbers of their business so they could run a credit rating on them. We said, how much money do you want and when? So the form was a lot stricter, but the leads were a lot more qualified. So we got a few less leads, percentage terms, but the lead quality was much higher because before they engaged with that lead, they could run a credit check on them and they knew exactly how much money they wanted to borrow and when. So they knew how realistic it was with all that and how much finance they could get them, basically. The other thing about hiring a good local PPC agency like my own is local knowledge makes a difference. So we understand the location, the different areas, slightly different demographics on a microeconomic local basis. And what does it cost? Some people think it's really expensive to hire a PPC agency. No, it's not, because ultimately they're getting a lot more leads for you. Like recently, we took a few campaigns we've taken on this year. We took on a PPC campaign for a network of independent financial advisors. They'd had a go at Google Leads, spent £2,500 and got one lead. We did a couple of £100 design work on their landing pages, a couple of £100 to restructure the PPC campaign. A few weeks later, we're bringing in leads at £85 a lead. So we've shaved over 90% off their costs, and the lead volume was up like 20, 30x. So they were really happy with that. We also took on a business finance company, and they were getting 10 leads a month for £200. We applied all of those techniques I just told you about, and we got it down to just under £30 a lead and just over 300 leads a month. So it was like 30x on volume, and the cost per lead from 200 down to 30. So kind of circa 80% savings or so. So it does pay for itself if you get the right people. The thing that you've got to watch on Google Ads is it gives you loads of advice and suggests all these things to do, but they're not always in your benefit. Trusting Google, handing over control of your bids and what you bid on. Inevitably, the worse it's managed, the worse the results. That's basically how it goes. So yeah, you can go and set up a Google Ads campaign yourself if you've never done it before. Watch a few videos, read a few tutorials, but you'll end up wasting most of your money, particularly if you're relying on Google's advice, because often that Google's advice is merely trying to get you to spend more money and more money per click, a bit higher than anyone else, rather than actually make as much money as you can. So in conclusion, should you hire a PPC agency? Yes, most definitely. The results, the difference in results between a novice PPC and an experienced PPC are often worlds apart. So it's always worth at least getting a PPC agency to audit your campaign and have a look at it for you, or build it and structure it for you before you do take it in-house. Or if you do have it in-house, it's worth investing a couple of £100 at least just to get someone to audit it. Quite often we go into a CPC campaign, and within an hour I've pressed a few buttons and doubled or tripled the performance, just switching on and off a few different features within their platform. So all of our details are in the description box. If you would like some PPC consultancy, happy to give you some provisional advice up front, no strings attached. Have a quick look over your setup, and thanks very much for your time. Look out for further educational videos.